Hi, my name is Joel Shapiro and I'm a Senior Growth Product Marketing Manager at Atlassian. Today I'm going to be helping you get started on a next-gen Jira project along with either my colleagues Steve or Joma later on. Starting your project off on the right foot is crucial to its overall success, so I'm going to be guiding you through some of the most important areas of Jira software in the cloud. We'll be covering every nook and cranny of some powerful features, as well as some general best practices. Without further ado, let's get started. Jira's powerful roadmap view gives teams and stakeholders a great view into a project's components. We found that teams are often successful by starting with something of a brain dump.
So with this project, we've decided to create a few epics right off the bat. These are broken out into things that we have an expectation that they'll take a certain amount of time, but we're not really sure. So by filling up our roadmap with them, we'll be able to get a rough idea. After adding epics to the roadmap, we're able to click and drag on them to rearrange them. This is purely organizational and doesn't impact the rest of the project. The drop-down in the corner allows us to change visibility from weeks to months to quarters, and now we can drag each epic's length to get a better idea of how long each part of this project will take. We can move them around and get a better idea of what we're going to be able to accomplish this quarter and what our order of operations might look like.
Clicking on the epic lets us look at more detailed information about it. The Add a Child Issue button allows you to create the actual work that goes into your epic using any of the issue types that your project has. Just to flesh out our long-term project, we'll add finding a designer, finding an engineering, and creating the requirements as some base level things that we can assume this project is going to need. To make organization a little easier, we can click into the detail view of each epic and select its color. Again, this won't affect anything besides organization, but it makes looking at a roadmap a little easier to follow, especially as it fills up with epics. While we're here, we might as well make some last adjustments to our awesome project. It's obviously the most important one that we have. And jumping back into the long-term project, we can take a look at the status dropdown. The options in this drop-down always match to the columns on your board, but the far left is always gray, the middle columns are always blue, and the far right column is always green.
Along the top bar, our first option is Watchers. Watchers are the people that get notifications when things change on your issue or epic. Right now, I'm the only one. This menu allows us to do a number of options such as adding a flag, moving an issue, cloning it, deleting it, or configuring its fields. Lower on the sidebar, we're able to change who the epic is assigned to, add or remove labels, and adjust dates similar to how we did earlier. This drop-down allows us to toggle between seeing comments, the overall history of changes for the epic, and a work log. The work log is tied into a number of extensions in our marketplace. The Share button allows you to copy a link for email or chat, as well as export an image of the roadmap where you can adjust the timeline view from weeks to months to quarters, just like the general roadmap, as well as the start and end date. This gives you any level of fidelity that your team might need to get a better idea of what's going on. Jumping back into the epic's detail view, here we can add an attachment such as an image or video, and we can link issues together so we can keep track of how they're related. They could be blockers, they could be clones, they could be duplicates, or they could just be related. Once you've chosen how they're linked, you can search for them by the key, in this case AP15, or by the title. The last button takes you to our marketplace where you can find apps and integrations to enhance your project. Clicking Add a Description allows you to enter text that gives your teammates more background on the epics. You can adjust font styles, as well as insert lists and attachments.
You'll usually be interacting with your project from the board view, so let's take a look at some of its features. Each column is basically a status for all the issues that are in it. You can rename these at any time by clicking on the title, and you can add new ones by clicking on the plus sign at the end of the row. We recommend starting with the columns that you know you'll need, rather than ones that you might. The mini-map in the bottom right corner is an easy way to navigate through your board once it gets a little wide. Each column includes a drop-down that lets you set a limit to the number of issues that are in it, as well as delete it if you want to try experimenting with a new workflow. You can create new issues by clicking on the plus sign in each column. From here you can enter a new title and press the Enter key or click Create to jump to a new task. The drop-down in the bottom left allows you to choose its issue type, or edit or create new issue types. Hovering over an issue reveals a menu with tools that are able to modify it. Adding a flag gives you an indicator that there could be a problem. Labels are a great organizational tool to keep track of how issues tie together. Epics are a way to group tasks together under a common parent issue. Deleting an issue is pretty straightforward, and moving it to the top or bottom of the column is another nice organizational tool. When adding an issue to an epic, all you have to do is start typing the epic's name. Epics are originally created in the Roadmap tab. Adding labels is just as easy, though you're also able to create new labels from that view. Once a label is made, adding it to another issue is just as easy. You can multi-select issues to make adding labels in epics a lot faster by using Command-click on a Mac or Control-click on Windows. There are two ways to change the status of an issue. One is by dragging it from one column into another, which you can just as easily then move back to the original column or any other. The other way is to click on the issue and choose its status from the drop-down. Here the far left column is always gray, the middle column's blue, and the far right column always green. Clicking on the assignee allows you to select who should be working on it, and the drop-down in the top right gives you a lot of the same options that we saw on the board. The eyeball button allows you to see who's watching an issue, and you can add or remove people who will get notifications on changes. Filters along the top allow you to quickly narrow down what issues you can see in your board. You can use a text filter, an epic filter, a label filter, or any combination of the three. Clearing those filters is just a one-button press. The Group By drop-down on the far right allows you to change the layout of your board. You can break it out by assignee so each user has their own row or swim lane, or by epic, where each epic has its own row. In either of these layouts, dragging an issue from one row to another will change its underlying information, including changing an assignee to unassigned or breaking an issue out of its parent epic. Clicking on the star in the top right corner allows you to easily find your project later on. The star in the left side navigation brings up a menu with starred projects and recent things that you've interacted with. The menu in the top right allows you to manage automated rules for your project. To reassign an issue based on its column, click on the first rule and then select. Then you can choose the column that will influence the decision and who it should be reassigned to. Because our rule applies to the QA column, first we'll move it to the finished column, and then back to QA and see that its assignee has changed, meaning that I no longer have to do this feature enhancement. Going back into the Manage Rules tool, we'll see the rule that we've created, and we can add a new one. This time we'll update a field based on its column. Again, we'll choose the column that we want to cause the update, and then the field that we want to update, and the value that should go in the field. In this case, if we move an issue into a certain column, it will have a label applied. To delete a rule, just click on the trash can beside it. Now if we drag an issue to the finished column, we'll see that our label has been applied to it. Jira's issue detail view allows you to see a lot of the meta information that's deep down inside every issue type, such as attachments, descriptions, and comments. Clicking on an issue's name allows you to jump in and make any changes to it. The Add Attachment button allows you to upload any attachments to the issue, while the Link Issue button allows you to define any relationships between these issues, whether it's a clone, a duplicate, or just related. You can search for those connections by the key of the issue or its title. The third button allows you to go to our marketplace, where you can find integrations between Jira and thousands of other apps and services. By clicking on the issue view's description field, you can enter text just as you would expect. You can also use GitHub's Markdown to do things like italicize, add boldness, or add headers without having to write text, highlight it, and select the type from the top left dropdown. In that case, you can highlight anything that you've written and press the bold button, italic button, select underline, strike through, super, subscript, change the color, or turn it into a list, ordered or unordered. You can also turn it into a link, embed any files and images, mention other people, among other options. If you @mention someone, you can see a list of other members of your project that you can tag. They'll then be notified when you save. Comments work a lot like descriptions, with any changes triggering notifications to be sent by any watchers of the issue. One improvement, though, is the addition of our good friend emoji. Here you have a couple basic ones that you can quickly reply with, or press the 3 dots and search from our emoji library. This comment is definitely pizza. The status dropdown has one item for each of your columns, and the starting column is always gray, the middle column's always blue, and the last column always green. The assignee field allows you to select who should be doing work on this issue. Labels allow you to add extra traits that you can filter on later. These are purely organizational. To share your issues, you can hover on the name and click the icon. This will copy it for chat or email, or you can click on it directly to open it in a new window. Clicking on the issue's type icon allows you to change that issue type. You might do this if a different one has fields that are more relevant. Clicking on the left side of the breadcrumb will bring you to this issue's parent epic. From here you can see the child issues and click back into them. The Show More link shows you fields that you're not yet using but are available for this issue type. Any fields that aren't used will hide again when you click Show Less. Just like adding information to that field caused it to stick around, removing it and clicking Show Less will hide it again. Here you can switch between the issue's comments as well as a log of every action that's been applied to this issue. You can also look at the work log. This is used by a number of time tracking apps from our marketplace. We'll go ahead and switch this back to comments just so I can sleep at night. The Watchers button allows you to see who's looking at this issue and who's going to be notified when changes happen. You can also add people as watchers if there's someone that you'd like to be in the know. From this menu, you can add or remove the flag that's visible from the board. You can change the issue's parent epic. You can move it, clone it, delete it, open this view in the sidebar, or configure this issue type and change its fields. Opening the issue in the sidebar gives you the same information, just tucked on the right instead of in a modal. Issue types in next-gen projects are siloed to their project and don't impact anybody else. To edit them, it's as easy as going to Project Settings,
and then click on Issue Types. In the left sidebar, we have the option to add new issue type. Clicking on that gives us suggested issue types or the ability to create a new one. When creating a new one, you enter its name, a brief description of it, and you choose its icon. The icon can be uploaded from your computer, or you can pick one from our gallery. After clicking Create, you'll be dropped into your new issue, where you'll see its primary and secondary fields, along with fields that you can add on the right side. We'll start by dragging the People field into a primary area and labeling it Informed. This could be any type of stakeholder for your project. We'll drag the Text field into the secondary area and label it the Why. This will be a field that you can fill in to give people quick context outside of its main description. If you decide that you don't want one of the fields that you've already set, you can just click and drag it back into the sidebar. We'll click Save to make sure that we don't lose our changes. Going back to our board, We're able to quickly create a new issue and hover over its type and see that story plus option. Any issues that we create with that plus sign will have our new fields and be searchable by type. After creating an issue, you can click on it and then hover and click on its type to change it to something else.
Finding issues and epics across any of your projects is easy using search, filters, and Jira query language. We'll start in our project view and go to the top left to the search icon. From here you can do plain text searches, look at recent issues, look at recent boards and projects, or go to advanced search to find things of a particular type. To demonstrate, we'll try to find our feature enhancement task. We can use the name of the issue, or we can use its key. Now let's say we weren't able to find what we want, so we're just going to type feature and click on advanced search. This brings us to the basic search view. Along the top we'll see project filters, type filters, status filters, assignee filters, a text filter, and an advanced text filter. On the left side we see the results of the search, and on the right side we see our normal issue detail view. This button on the right allows us to switch from the detail view to a list view in case we want to see more data on the page. Here we'll change our search to limit to a certain project, a certain type, and a certain status. Even though we have the same results, we're looking at a very different filter than what we started with. To demonstrate this, we can take a look at Jira query language by clicking Advanced. Jira query language allows you to make structured searches on nearly any aspect of your issues. In this case, our drop-downs have been translated into text. Clicking into the bar, we can make changes to this search, and autocomplete will guide us along the way. Clicking Save As allows us to hold on to this search for later, so we can share it with colleagues or subscribe to any changes in results. You may notice that there's now a star in the top right, and it's in a starred section on the left, along with a variety of other sample filters that you can build off of. Clicking View All Filters allows us to see all of the filters that our project has. The far right menu gives us a couple interesting options, such as subscribing to it, which is to get email notifications whenever the results change, copy it, edit it, or delete it. The backlog view allows you to get an easy look at what you'll be working on this sprint, as well as what's left behind for future ones. You can easily add things to the sprint just by typing them in and choosing their type, and then clicking Create opens up the field to add a second.
Clicking the Start Sprint button allows you to name your sprint, choose how long it's going to be, set its start and end dates, and give it a goal. Most teams choose a 2-week sprint, though 1 week is also common. Once you've started your sprint, you're put back into your board view. We'll move our tasks from the beginning to the finished column, and then close out this sprint as if we'd gone through the full 2 weeks. After finishing it, we can move tasks from the backlog into the new sprint, and then start that one. Awesome Sprint 2 is about finishing things that we weren't able to get to in Awesome Sprint 1.
Because most next-gen settings are siloed, it's extremely easy to change them. From inside your project, click Project Settings and then Features, and you'll be able to see all of the discrete features that you can turn on or off. Disabling your roadmap is as easy as changing its toggle. The backlog allows you to store issues outside of your board to keep things a little cleaner. Sprints allow you to decide what you want to work on for a certain time period. If your team isn't using reporting, disabling it will hide it from the menu. If we leave settings, we'll find that roadmaps and reports are no longer in the sidebar, and the backlog is broken into the main backlog and the current sprint. Now that we've gotten through all that, let's open it up for some questions.